If you have ever said, I just can't stick to anything, or I always sabotage myself, then this is for you. It isn't that you're lazy, and it isn't that you can't actually stick to anything. You're just stuck in this cycle of perfectionism, all or nothing thinking, where one bad day or one bad meal turns into a bad week, and before you know it, you're right back at square one. So let's talk about what you're really struggling with. Because it isn't the plan, it isn't the motivation, it isn't you, per se. Not being able to stick at something, sabotaging your efforts, and feeling like you can't do it right, this is what you think is the problem. Let's paint the picture of it. You start strong, you're really motivated, you're excited, you're ready to go all in. And I see this with clients a lot. They're so eager to get going, but then it slips. One bad meal, one missed workout, and suddenly you feel like you've ruined everything. And that creates more and more frustration, because deep down you are tired of this vicious cycle that you're in. You want to be consistent, you want to feel proud of yourself, but at the same time it feels like no matter what you do, you always end up right back where you started. And one of the key problems here is that you are expecting too much of yourself too soon. Because in all of the areas of life, you are successful, you are flying, you can do things without really thinking, you are on top of your shit. So why can't you be on top of your shit with this? And you go in hot, new motivation, new plan, new action, but you forget the most important thing. It has to be something you can do long-term, sustainably, consistently, and that's the point that you're missing. Having high standards is great. Having all the motivation in the world, wanting to be successful in this, wanting to live up to these high standards and high expectations of yourself is great. I fully support having high standards. However, high standards is not the same as unrealistic standards. Having high standards means you are holding yourself to a level that is who you want to identify as. You are wanting to align yourself and your behaviours with a newer version of yourself. But that also means being flexible, being adaptable, doing the best with what you've got. Having unrealistic standards and unrealistic expectations of yourself means that you are constantly feeling like you are not good enough if you don't quite meet that standard. If even despite your best efforts, something doesn't quite fit. So the tiniest slip, you feel like you've messed up. And that is where the all or nothing spiral happens. And when I say the tiniest slip, it can be that you forget to prep your food once, or you forget to take your food to work. It means that you have a biscuit when you've told yourself you're not going to have a biscuit. These are minor slips that can be adapted and can be moved on from, but they become this huge event that you feel has completely thrown you off course. So the mindset becomes, I've messed up, so what's the point? But that's the mindset that's keeping you stuck exactly where you are. It's keeping you in the cycle. It's making sure you're always back at square one. The goal isn't to never fall off track. The goal is to know that you can't be off track. There is no on or off. That is the secret sauce everybody is missing. If you see yourself as on track or off track, rather than just being on a journey that is going to have road bumps and complications, and times when you stall, and times when you take a detour, times when you have to turn around, It's not being on track or off track. It's just knowing that the journey isn't in one direction all the time. Smooth sailing. So let's now go a layer deeper. You might be thinking, that's great, Rach, but then what about the times when I just sabotage myself? When I knowingly do something that isn't really aligned with my goals? And you're sabotaging not because you don't want it, but because part of you is actually afraid that you might actually get it. And that sounds bizarre, doesn't it? But the thing is, if you succeed, if you set yourself a goal and you succeed, you have to measure up to that. You have to live by those new standards you've set yourself. You have to continue to be aligned with that. And again, that falls into this all or nothing perfection mindset, as though once you've achieved something, you cannot deviate. So if you have that mindset and this fear that if you achieve it, you can't mess it up, then it's easier to fail now than risk judgment. It's easier to have people not expect any more of you than to see you achieve what you set out to achieve and then fail later. So you sabotage. Because in some weird way, you're then in control of that. And you can continue to believe the narrative that it doesn't work for you and that you are never going to achieve what you want to achieve. Controlled failure that you can control, feels safer than the uncertainty of what if I actually do this. But the thing with that is you are constantly proving yourself right. You believe in the narrative that you tell yourself that you can't do it, that you can't achieve it. And you're sabotaging the very version of yourself that you desperately want to become. So how do you stop these thoughts and these behaviours? How do you stop sabotaging yourself? How do you stop the all or nothing thinking? Mitigate it as much as possible. Stop letting minor setbacks completely derail you in your progress. So you have a biscuit. Big deal. Doesn't mean that you have to smash the whole pack. Doesn't mean that you have to then start again tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you are one big fat failure. It means you've had a biscuit. And maybe you weren't planned as well as you should be. Maybe you let some comfort take over. Maybe you were emotionally charged. Maybe there's a reason for this that you can learn from and do differently next time. It is as simple as that. And I'm not saying simple's easy. It's not. It's fucking hard. But what's harder is constantly being in this loop of berating yourself for making minor setbacks in your journey. The thing is, you can't fail if you don't quit. And I know that sounds cheesy as hell, but it is the truth. So your fear of failure, your fear of judgment doesn't have to ever come into reality if you don't quit. It doesn't matter if it takes you 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years to get where you want to be. If you keep chipping away, you can't fail because you're not done yet. So stop deciding to be done every time you do something that doesn't quite fit with the standards that you've set yourself. If you learn from it and make a conscious effort to make a different decision next time, a different choice, you are moving forward. Another thing you can think about with this is never miss twice. So you have a biscuit, or you miss a workout, or make sure your next meal is aligned with what you're wanting to achieve. Make sure your next session you don't miss. Confidence comes from challenging these versions of yourself and these beliefs that you hold. It comes from showing up for yourself even when it hasn't been perfect. So if you use the rule of never missing twice, you know that even if you slip up, you're going to be right back where you need to be. And finally, remind yourself why you're doing this. If you have a bad day, you miss a workout, you've not prepped your food, you choose the wrong thing, you eat too much chocolate, you drink too much alcohol, whatever it is that isn't really aligned with the version of you want to become, remind yourself what you're doing and why. All these things that you're wanting to improve aren't punishment. They're improving your life. They're improving who you are. They're improving your confidence, your body composition, your fitness, your strength, whatever it is, whatever you're working towards. Being a better version of yourself, that's something to be excited about. So remind yourself of that, to prevent yourself slipping into the behaviours that got you to a place that you don't want to be. So the top and bottom of this is, you don't need to keep starting over. You're not stuck. You're not a failure. You're not broken. It's not that it doesn't work for you. You just need to keep going. You need the high standards, but you need to take the pressure off being perfect. We're equating the outcome with the level of perfection we can achieve rather than the level of consistency we can achieve. It is no good being perfect one day. What good is 100% for one day when you can hit 60, 70, 80% across the week? Stop proving the old story right and start seeing what you're actually capable of. If this resonates, let me know and I'll see you in the next video.